Welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert. I am Amy Board. I am your host. And welcome. My goodness. Here we are. We are in the middle of something unprecedented in our modern history. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. Everyone is quarantined in their homes, save for you that are a part of the essential businesses. Some of you must work in healthcare. What an interesting, uncertain, very scary at times period of time to live through. My goodness. I don't know about you, but I am finding myself up and down. I have good days and I have bad days. I have days where I have energy and enjoy the new opportunities for time to look into something. And I have other times where it's just hard to move. I cannot imagine what it would be like to have children at this time, homeschooling, working full time, trying to manage a household. My hat's off to parents. My goodness, my hat's off to parents. And what it must be like for young adults, for teenagers that are maybe even facing this alone, those of us that live alone. So everyone is in their own unique challenges. Here from all of us at Bloodstream Media and Believe Limited, we are honored to offer resources and maybe even small bits of entertainment during this time. We've been so impressed with the output of so many organizations coming through, offering phenomenal education, resources. Our two national organizations, NHF and HFA, have really stepped up. The output that they have provided during this COVID-19 crisis has been extraordinary. I am excited that we get to talk a little bit about it today, to hear a little behind the scenes of how it has been. Both of our national organizations have brand new leadership right on the onset of this thing. I can't imagine what that has been like. And you can just tell there's a synergy between the two. If you haven't heard, the two organizations, NHF and HFA, combine to do a weekly webinar during this COVID-19 pandemic. Every week is a new topic. It's Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern, and it's led by NHF CEO Dr. Lynn Valentino. And every week it's a new topic. I highly recommend you guys check those out. I believe they are saved somewhere. Oh my gosh, I should have done my research before I did this intro, y'all. I don't even know where to send you. If you go to their website and if you go to their social, I'm sure you can find it. Also, you know what? I'll do my research on the back end and then I'll put it in the program notes and y'all will be set. So please check out those webinars. Great stuff. Here at Bloodstream Media, the coolest, I don't want to say it's cool because, you know, this is a crazy time, but an interesting and wonderful thing about the work that we do here at Believe Limited is that we can continue to give you guys digital content in the form of podcasts. We do a lot of live streams. Please head over to Facebook. Check out Bloodstream Media's Facebook. We do live streams all the time. Patrick is constantly staying in communication with you all, with our community, with our listeners, with our following. And we just hope to provide just a little bit of ease, some resources, and hopefully the experience that we are not alone in all of this. So we are all in this together. I'm so excited for you guys to check out our guest today. I had the best conversation with her. We have so much in common. My guest today is Sharon Meyers, who is the new CEO at HFA, the Hemophilia Federation of America. She has been in the job for about 2 months. She was the interim president for several months prior to that, during the leadership transition. She was the vice president of development, so fundraising. She has a fundraising background. She has a healthcare fundraising background, and we have all these things in common, her and I. It's terrific. She lives in Colorado. Oh, you guys, we get to talk about Colorado. We get to talk about nonprofits. Anyway, it's great. If all else fails, if you're not interested in any of those topics, please listen to this podcast just because I'm so nerdy about it. Ugh, it's the best. Anyway, but today our conversation is truly going to be about the vision of HFA and the work that both of our national organizations have done to really work together to communicate better, to lift each other up, to celebrate the uniqueness and the differences between the two, and to combine for the greater good. I loved my conversation with Sharon, and I am so excited for you guys to get to know her a little bit. So grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's have ourselves a conversation. I am your host, Amy Board, and welcome to episode 38, or our Meet Sharon Meyers episode of the Ask the Expert podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Sharon Meyers, newly minted CEO of the Hemophilia Federation of America, or HFA, as it's lovingly known in our circles. Sharon was previously the Vice President of Development for HFA and took the role of interim president during the organization's most recent leadership transition. So members are accustomed to seeing your face, but now it is official. You took the CEO position about 2 months ago. So congratulations, Sharon. And from all of us, welcome to the podcast.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the podcast, Amy. It's my first one, so I'm very excited about it.
Yay. What an interesting time to take a leadership position. I guess before we get started, I should ask you, how are you doing? How are you holding up in quarantine?
I'm doing great. I work from home normally, so this is my normal every day, but it's just new challenges, and it's interesting. You make decisions in the morning, and they're different by the end of the day. So we're just moving along. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. You have a long history in healthcare, in particular healthcare fundraising and organizational development. So I feel personally you're poised to take HFA through its next chapter, and just wanted to personally ask, what has the transition been like from the development department, the fundraising department, into the CEO? How has that been like for you?
Yeah, so I've led healthcare and university organizations in the past, so I had experience doing the job, but the experience at HFA has just been so good. As you mentioned before, I've been at HFA, working at HFA for 4 years, so I understand the organizational culture and the environment and our mission. So the transition into the interim role was pretty seamless. And luckily, I had a very supportive staff and board, and I had a lot of help. As a matter of fact, I didn't apply for the CEO job right away. And I did that because I don't have a bleeding disorder, and I wanted to see how the board and the staff, and especially the community, would react to me as interim and possibly CEO. And, I wanted to do the right thing for the community, but I received a lot of encouragement to apply from all areas, and I'm thankful I did and was ultimately offered the job. And it truly is an honor and a privilege to serve the bleeding disorders community, especially during a time of crisis.
Obviously, our country and the globe is experiencing a pandemic of unprecedented nature in modern history, and our two national organizations have found themselves with brand new leadership right out of the gate in the middle of this thing. And personally, I have told you this before, but I have been so impressed and encouraged with the synergy that has come out of HFA and NHF through this crisis. And so I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit to what it's been like behind the scenes as both organizations have been putting together communication and education for the public.
Well, thank you, Amy. That was so sweet of you to say that. Yes, it's been a tremendous amount of synergy between HFA and NHF, as well as many other organizations in this space and beyond due to COVID-19. And the reason I think that it happens so naturally with NHF is we've collaborated on things behind the scenes for years. For example, our policy and advocacy teams have been collaborating for quite a long time, but it just wasn't enough, in my opinion, nor was it made public. But the COVID-19 crisis has certainly changed our dynamic even more. And I'm so proud of both teams, HFA and NHF, who came together and worked together to get information out quickly and not duplicate efforts, and work together to manage the fear and uncertainty that exists during this unprecedented time for all of us. And so to answer your question, since I went around the block, behind the scenes, we reached out to each other right away. NHF had ideas. We had ideas. They shared what they planned to do. We shared what we planned to do, and we just made it work. We simply communicated with each other a lot to do the right things for our community. But thank you again for noticing all of our hard work. And both organizations, I think, just have such a heart for service. And you have to remember, our respective teams are also dealing with their own fears and uncertainty, but they just love this community so much that they push past their own needs to help others. And we just want to serve others to the best of our ability. So if you're out there and you have needs, please reach out to us. We want to help.
That synergy between HFA and NHF hasn't always been apparent, at least to the general public, and it's a noticeable difference in the past weeks. From your vantage point, why were the two organizations faced with tension, and where have those shifts come from in the past few weeks?
Well, many people, like I said before, really didn't realize we've had a mutual respect and have worked together in the past. While we haven't always agreed on a specific issue or the angle to take on an issue, there isn't and shouldn't be a problem with that. It's good to have dissenting opinions from time to time. Our individual policy and advocacy teams, again, have had a longstanding communication effort, and they discuss important issues to our community. And yes, in recent months, we've renewed that effort across both organizations. It's just too important of a time in our community to not be communicating and collaborating where it makes sense. And I think that's why recently we realized there's just been more opportunity to collaborate. But, the community should be assured that each organization has its own identity and mission, and we work together where those intersect, and we'll definitely stand independently when we need to. It's just a really nice balance.
Yeah, I think so too. One of the things I've been so impressed with you is you have such an extensive background in healthcare systems and organizations. So I feel like you're going to be very well versed to answer this. But to be completely frank, why do we need two national organizations? Wouldn't we be a stronger community if we just had one national organization that, collected resources, looking out for the community's best interest? Why do we need two?
So it's not uncommon to have multiple national organizations in different disease states, even in rare disorders. So if you think of cancer, MS, or even something like celiac disease, they have multiple organizations. So to assume we need just one organization or one nonprofit in the space is not the norm in nonprofit industry. So let me put it into perspective. So there's approximately 1.5 million nonprofits in the U.S., and the nonprofit industry makes up about 10% of the U.S. workforce. So due to the immense number, more than likely there's an overlap in services, but one nonprofit cannot possibly be all things to all people in a given space. So that's why you have more than one. And I think your ability to serve the community increases when a nonprofit isn't exhausting all of its resources. So therefore, one organization can specialize in one area, whereas another one can specialize in something else. So you have to remember that nonprofits exist based on funding. It's not a government program. So it makes sense to have more than one nonprofit to address the needs, so the community doesn't suffer a loss in programs or services if the sole nonprofit has to shift resources. And you have to be careful to not put all your eggs in one basket, because as we know with COVID-19, things can definitely change significantly. And finally, with HFA and NHF, we both focus on, policy and advocacy for the bleeding disorders community, but having two national organizations gives us a stronger voice and more clout. And also, we're actually hearing from regulatory officials that they want to hear from multiple organizations. So it does work to have more than one.
Oh, I love that perspective. I really love that perspective. It's something that I think, as community members, we can kind of mull over and not understand systematically how it would benefit. So I appreciate that. From your vantage point, and both of it, this is another thing that we have in common. We both are not personally affected by a bleeding disorder. So from our very, I think, specific vantage point, what makes each organization unique?
Sure. So NHF and HFA were not created at the same time, and we've evolved to focus on different areas. I feel like that NHF has a strong medical and science focus, and HFA has a strong patient focus. And again, there may be areas of overlap in some ways, but like I said before, that's perfectly fine. However, I can tell you what makes HFA unique. HFA's mission is to assist, educate, and advocate for the bleeding disorders community, and we have a strong education focus that provides programming for families, blood brotherhood, blood sisterhood, our Spanish-speaking community at the local level, and virtually through Learning Central platform. And we also have a strong policy and advocacy focus to educate at the local, state, and national levels to help people advocate for themselves and the bleeding disorders community as a whole. And we also have a strong Helping Hands program, which is our emergency financial assistance. So we do have a very family reunion kind of feel, which makes us unique. But that's why I feel like HFA is unique. And I hate to answer this for NHF, so I'll just answer it from HFA.
Look at you. That's the best CEO answer ever. No, seriously, that's terrific. That's wonderful. And to not speak for anyone else, that's lovely. I can't imagine what it has been like to take a leadership position on the cusp of such a dramatic shift in our country with COVID-19, with these quarantines, so much fear, so much unknown. What has HFA been doing during this challenging time as we face all these quarantines? I guess internally a little bit, like how are you guys functioning internally? And then what has it been like to make decisions about what is needed? What is the service that you guys are providing a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as the state of HFA, we're fully operational. So we immediately halted staff travel and closed our office in DC. Many of us work from home prior, as I do. I live in Denver. But now all of us are working from home, and we're also spending a lot of time making sure the staff has what they need and that they're happy and healthy. And we're really making sure, we're keeping each other's spirit up. And it's kind of like on the airline when they tell you to put your mask on first. I mean, I think we're all finding out how important self-care is so we can truly give our best to others. And, we quickly realized that there was a lot of fear and uncertainty. So we had a webinar addressing that. And we talked more about mental health issues during a time of crisis. And we've increased our social media posts and communications to include all things that it can affect a family from credible sources. And we've also posted more pictures on social media because we don't get to see each other very often. So keep an eye out on our social media because your picture might be there.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's great. And social media has been so great during this time. It has been such
It really has.
Yeah, it's been a joy. It can be a drag at times, but man, it has been great. This is kind of an interesting question. Do you envision that the direction of the organization, HFA rather, will change because of the COVID pandemic at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. They've all been good questions, by the way. So HFA, we always stay true to our mission, but I do think we'll all be changed in some way due to the pandemic. It's certainly shown us our resolve as an organization and, our strong desire to help others. And I think every organization needs to look at how they do business and what they can do better and if there are things that need to change. So organizations follow a bell curve, or some people say it's an S curve. So when you travel up the curve as an organization to the top, and then on your way down the curve, you have to adjust to make sure you're responding to the current climate and environment. So if you don't change, then you may hit bottom like some organizations do, and you just don't recover. So the goal is always to be open to change organizationally, so you don't ride the curve all the way down. So the pandemic is forcing all organizations, to assess where they are on that curve and make adjustments now. And while there's already been so much tragedy, I do hope that we learn from this pandemic and that we build better organizations and that we're better people.
You spoke a little bit about it before, but I'd love for you to give me a little bit more information about your Helping Hands program. It is a financial assistance program, rather. I remember when I was a chapter executive, I utilized your Helping Hands program. My social workers and I really benefited from it in terms of helping specific patients and families. So tell me a little bit about the program and the unique qualities that you offer with that program, especially during this COVID-19 time.
Yeah, now's a good time to talk about it. So our Helping Hands emergency financial assistance program actually provides people in the bleeding disorders with urgent basic living expenses like the cost of medically recommended items or medical travel or educational support or fitness support or things like that. It could be items, reimbursement. So last year, it's really anything that is an emergency that's not generally covered by anything else. And so last year we approved over 400 requests for emergency financial assistance from the bleeding disorders. And like you said, Amy, the requests people will be referred to us at the local level, or it could be HCCs or numerous ways. And so, yeah, we approved over 400 last year. And we have a staff of 3 social workers and a committee who makes the decisions. And I have to say, we truly love this program because it just sticks to our mission beautifully to help others. So because of COVID-19, we're also setting up a special disaster relief fund to help people who are directly affected by the crisis. So if you know someone who is struggling financially due to COVID-19, which many people are, please have them reach out to us, and we'll work them through the process. And so hopefully we can help them with emergency financial assistance. But thanks for bringing that up because it is extremely timely right now.
Absolutely. A couple questions about Helping Hands. Does the application have to be submitted through a social worker or someone at an HTC, or can a patient go on your website and fill out the application themselves?
Yeah, generally it is referred by someone else, but please feel free to contact us regardless, especially during the circumstances of COVID-19. We can vet those ourselves, and usually some of the vetting is already done for us, but we can do that ourselves. And we have, like I said, we have 3 people to do it. And we've actually also, if the need is as great as we suspect it's going to be, we're also moving additional staff over to Helping Hands to help address all of the requests and things. So, yeah.
Another thing you mentioned that I didn't even think of that falls under the purview of Helping Hands is medical travel. And I know so many folks in rural areas have a long way to go to get to their HTC. And that is a part of the program. If you are in another region and have to travel overnight or use airfare to get to a certain HTC, I know in Colorado especially, we serve Wyoming and Montana. So that's a part of the Helping Hands program as well as medical travel. That's fascinating.
Yeah, even parking sometimes. Somebody was telling me they had to pay $15 just to park at certain places. And that was, for some people, that's the difference between, buying $15 of, kids stuff for their kids' backpack. It's a challenge.
It really meant a lot to us in the Colorado community, so I appreciate that. Exciting to hear about the Disaster Relief Fund. If the patient community is interested in getting updates about that, of when that goes live, do they check your social media channels? Do they stay in tune with your website? Where is the best place for updated information about that fund?
Yeah, they can go on our website. We actually have a hub page on our website that has everything COVID-19 that you can think of. As a matter of fact, other organizations outside of the space are referring to it. We're going to have it on our social media page as well. Great.
That Disaster Relief Fund, if folks are finding themselves in fairly well-off positions in COVID, whether they have jobs, they have some job security, is there a way that people can contribute to that fund? Is there a way that they can donate towards that fund?
Oh, I love that question. Yes, we are raising money for it now, and then we're going to go ahead and push it out to the community to, if people want to donate. So yeah, that's coming soon. So keep a lookout on our social media page and on our website and things. We will move it out there because I feel the same way. I feel very fortunate during this time. So, and a lot of people are really struggling.
I'm going to go rogue with this next question. Don't worry, it's not bad. It's just something I forgot to put on our list. I wanted to talk about Symposium. When this podcast drops, it's going to be like the week. I think it's the week that Symposium was going to be, or the week after. Anyway, it's wah-wah. Tell me a little bit about Symposium, just in general, what it is to the community for some of our listeners that maybe aren't aware of what the conference is. And then it has been rescheduled. And tell us a little bit about the lineup this year.
So it has been rescheduled. So Symposium is our annual conference, and we have education sessions and advocacy, and just all kinds of things. We have a final night event that's amazing, and we have all kinds of like industry sponsored meals. We have an exhibit hall and just all kinds of things happening. It's an exciting time to come and learn and connect and really be with the community. It's been called a family reunion a lot of times because it does feel very much family oriented. It was actually at the end of April, and that was kind of a funny story. So, of course, we're all laboring over the decision to move it or change it, and we waited, and finally we said, we made the decision, and we talked with the staff and leadership and the board and said, we're going to have to move it because it's just not the right thing to do because we don't want to put anybody at risk. And so we said, okay, we're going to move it. And at 1 o'clock that day, we made the announcement that we're going to move it. And it's actually in Baltimore, Maryland. And 3 hours later, Maryland governor had a notice saying that any meetings over 250 people had to be canceled. So we made the decision like 3 hours before we were going to have to make the decision.
You beat Maryland. That's incredible. You beat them to the punch. It's incredible.
But then, so now it is moved to August. And the challenge that we had is we take over the entire space. So, because we have the exhibit hall and we have all the meeting space and we have all the hotel rooms. It's challenging to move because we take over the entire hotel. So we only had a few options, and the only one where we had all the space and all the room and everything that we could get was at the end of August. So it's actually August 24th through the 26th. And we know it is close to NHF's meeting, and there's a lot of meetings going on during that time, but that's just the only option that we had. And so more information will be going out, and we still have a few more months to plan for it, which is exciting. But we hope you'll join us.
It'd be great. That's wonderful. I'm glad it could be rescheduled. I'm sure event planners are losing their minds during this whole thing. My goodness.
And we're moving. I mean, these are the only decisions we can make. We are moving forward, assuming that we're going to have it. And so if, things change and we can't, then we'll make another decision. But right now we're still moving forward that it's going to happen in August.
That's great. It's good to hear. Thank you. And I should say, just from all of us, thank you for being so communicative about that. I know that's hard. And, we as a staff here at Bloodstream Media and Believe Limited, we're planning on going to that meeting. And so we just appreciate you guys being forthcoming with those plans. And I'm no one's upset. Obviously, we're thankful that you put our health, before everything, even before Maryland, 3 hours before. You guys crushed it. I have to ask this question because I am a nonprofit nerd. One of the pillars that we hear all the time, especially as nonprofit professionals in the bleeding disorder space, is the need to diversify our funding to remain relevant, to keep thriving towards the future. And I just wanted to ask personally, from your background in healthcare fundraising, what are your thoughts about the importance of diversifying in the bleeding disorder space? And, what steps is HFA taking to diversify your funding stream?
That's a great question. I was a fundraiser I'm still a fundraiser, but I was for 15 years. And so that's absolutely true. So nonprofits should diversify funding sources, and it helps with sustainability simply because if one area lowers, you haven't lost at all. So there's only really a few revenue sources that nonprofits have. So it's individuals and corporate, it's foundations, government, fee for service, and investments. And that's it. So everything kind of falls within those revenue sources. So the goal is to diversify revenue from all of those sources. And HSA has been working for many years to diversify our funding sources. So, and some people mistakenly think that you should stop doing one in lieu of the other, but that's not how it's done. The idea is to increase all areas, so all boats float up at once. And that way, if funding for one goes down, such as government funding, then you still have enough revenue coming in to continue to provide programs and services. So HFA took that same approach. We've ramped up giving in all areas. So individuals and corporate and private foundations, government funding, fee for service and investments, all those. And so we've really taken a holistic approach to fundraising that's evidence-based, and it's definitely time-tested. And we know that it works because we've seen an increase in overall funding because of it. So it is an important aspect to diversify funding.
That's great. As a fundraiser, I'm going rogue with this next question, Sharon, OMG. As a professional fundraiser, I think this community is rather small. I guess it feels rather small. What are your thoughts on fundraising fatigue as we continually feel like we have to give to organizations? And I don't think this is just our community. I think anybody would feel it. I think the MS community would feel it. The breast cancer community would feel it. Fundraising fatigue is a real thing on the ground and a grassroots level. And what are your thoughts on that? As someone who is, very much involved in organizational leadership and vision making, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have an answer for that. So fundraising fatigue happens in every area. So it happens at universities, it happens at, any kind of, at schools. I mean, we've probably all found that to happen in our areas, and it's happening, I think, in our community as well. So the best course of action is, and you have to look at it from this perspective, and I'm going to explain it first, and then I'm probably going to back into it. But how you do it is you offer many different things. So say someone could give to the annual giving fund, and then they can give to an event, or they might want to give to Helping Hands, or they may want to ride a bike for Team Resilience. You offer a lot of options, and some people get really unnerved by that and fatigued by that when you offer so many options. But the thing is, people don't have to give to everything. They can give to what really means something to them. So when you offer all of these different areas, it helps people kind of narrow down what they want to give to. So maybe they only want to give to Helping Hands because that just touches their heart, And so I think the challenge is that people are generous and they want to help and they want to give to a lot of different things. And it's okay to only give to a few things as a donor. And so I think it's a responsibility of the donor to determine what really means something to them. And organizationally, we need to give donors plenty of options because no two donors are alike. And so, yeah, it can help with fatigue. And if you look at it from the perspective of they're giving me lots of opportunities to give, and I'll pick the ones that are right for me and my family, because at the end of the day, fundraising is matchmaking. You are matching the desires of the donor with the needs of the organization. And everybody has to be happy about it.
Yes, I love this. This is my, I feel very nerdy about this. My poor listeners are going to be like, oh dear, Amy. I do too. And I feel like it's, I feel like some of our community members that are so involved, I'm thinking of the handful in Colorado that they just never left my side. I was so grateful for them, how much pressure they must have felt that they have to take all of this on and, give at every single opportunity that we gave them, and how difficult that must be. And just to hear maybe some relief that as organizational leaders, we are not expecting everybody to do everything. It's really, truly what means something to you and your family. I love that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we want donors who are happy about giving, who love our organization and will give, because I know I do. I give year after year after year, and I feel good about it. That's the kind of donor we want. We don't want a, person that just feels like they have to give constantly to everything. But organizationally, we do have to give them opportunities, because what appeals to me may not appeal to you.
Right. So, right. Oh, I love that. This is another big question, but what is your vision for HFA in the long term? I know you must have been thinking about this a lot as you've, prepared for this job and, started to think about it might become a possibility. What excites you about the future of this organization and the bleeding disorder community? What's your vision?
There's a lot. So my vision for this community is we continue to build strong advocates, that we need to be vigilant watchdogs of product and blood safety, that we need to use our collective voice effectively, and be a beacon of hope for other disease states who don't have that same level of infrastructure or sophistication that we have in this community. And I want us to continue to ensure that we have like a highly educated and knowledgeable community. And I'm also very passionate about increasing bleeding disorders awareness. So people who are out there who are scared, or they're alone, or they don't understand their diagnosis, and I want them to realize that there's a robust and compassionate community out there just waiting to support them. I just want us to continue to be leaders in rare disease, and leaders do the right thing. I think that's what excites me and gets me out of bed in the morning, because HFA is only going to get bigger and better, and we have so many dedicated staff and board members who just want to help others. And when I see a staff member or a board member at Symposium who's absolutely exhausted, but they notice a family who's lost or upset, and they stop everything they're doing to help, it just touches my heart. And I have to admit, it probably brings a little tear to my eye too. And so that is truly what excites me, and that compassion of the human spirit that I see every day in this community and at our organization. I'm really excited to have to tell you about the collaborations that are happening with other organizations in this space. So I was really excited to talk about it earlier. And then I think I can confidently say that I'm going to speak for many of the organizations in this space, that we believe that when you work together through difficulties or challenges by having open communication, that you just forge stronger relationships built on trust. And our goal as nonprofits in this space should always be to support and encourage each other to serve the bleeding disorders community with integrity and cooperation. That's what we should be doing. So I'm very excited about a lot of things.
What a beautiful answer. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Really moved. You've said this multiple times in this interview about how your staff loves to serve others. And that's not something you hear from leaders all the time. You know, you hear kind of a running train of what they want to accomplish. And while that is very important, multiple times you have said that you have a staff that has hearts of service. And it just, I just really appreciate that. And as a community member, knowing that there are members that work for national organizations that truly want to serve, families for their best interests. It's lovely. So excited about this next chapter that we have here for these two organizations at the same time. It's great. As we wind down, I just kind of personally just wanted to ask, what is your hope for our community members as we grapple with this piece of history with COVID-19? What is your hope for the community as we kind of wait this thing out?
That's a great question. Well, I hope that everyone stays safe, and it's easy to feel isolated, but we truly are stronger together. And I'm just hoping that we have more. We already have a lot of compassion for each other, but we really need to increase our compassion for each other. Now is not the time to criticize or get annoyed with people, and because we're all dealing with this in our own way. And if you think you're being nice and forgiving, let's be a little extra nice and a little extra forgiving, because we're all dealing with this, and just don't suffer in silence, communicate with each other, because we have so much to learn from each other, and no one has all the answers. It's funny, isn't this called Ask the Expert? And I don't have all the answers. No one has all the answers. and I'll close with this. Nelson Mandela has a quote that I absolutely love, which applies perfectly to our current situation and beyond, like you asked. And this is what the quote is. It says, "May your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears." And that is what I hope for this community, that our choices reflect our hopes and not our fears, because we have much to be hopeful for and much to be thankful for in this community.
Oh, Sharon, thank you so much for your candid honesty and your insight. I know that running an organization is a very particular piece of grueling work. And so on behalf of all of us at Bloodstream Media, we just want you to know how much we value your service to our community. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very excited. It's lovely to talk to you, Amy.
Listeners, absolutely. Listeners, please visit HFA at hemophiliafed.org for more information about the Helping Hands program and other resources that HFA provides. And make sure to tune in this Thursday for an extended interview with Sharon about, well, basically it's going to be my nerdy interview about her nonprofit background and our mutual love of Colorado and more. It's going to be great. So please, we'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you so much, everybody.